I've been.
Hello, Casey. Welcome back to the US, I guess.
Well, I'm in San Jose, Costa Rica.
Oh, San Jose, Costa Rica. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I thought you say San Jose, California.
No, no.
Yeah.
I'm going back for another winter at Pachamama, the Tantra yoga community.
Awesome. Well, welcome back regardless. You just got up from the airport.
Yeah, not too long ago. I had enough time to go get something to eat. I hadn't eaten all day. I just had some water. And anyway, I took a little nap. I've been running for 4 straight days. Just you can't let go of these people, when you're in the rooms with them. There's just so many amazing souls. And wow, it was something. So I'm grateful that you invited me in because I think I can get others excited about upcoming events.
Yeah, thank you so much for making the time for us. I was gonna go this year, but there are some other event comes up that I have to prioritize. So miss out this one, but I'll definitely go next year. So can't wait to hear what you and other has to share. I only got to listen to Tao live from Mexico City on the lecture, the seven intelligence
Yes.
and the balance between research, and I thought that was so profound.
Yeah, it was a great speech. Yeah, going into the deep, his thing, the deep versus the shallow. And you don't want to try to just be all deep. You got to have
Mhm.
some of that shallow.
Yeah, I know, right?
'Cause I can't remember. And toward the end, it was in a different speech that he said that he was like, we can't always, there's who said it? Somebody said something to the effect of like, it was shallow and there's not happiness in Netflix and a tub of ice cream. And I go, what? There's a little bit of happiness there.
Yeah,
Is I wonder if Victoria is gonna, she was there. So
oh, really?
Victoria, she's probably stayed for the Hope Circuit. So I
Yeah,
have a feeling
probably.
she won't make it. But yeah, she was there.
How is she like uh in real life?
Oh, Victoria. Oh,
Yeah.
she was just dressed to the nines every minute, and she just looked like a model
Mm.
uh, right out of a magazine, and she just had great energy. Not as talkative as I expected. She was doing a lot of listening, and but in fact, we were supposed to. She'll follow up with me, but I had mentioned about a literary agency that I'm actually contracted with. I hired them because they help guide people through book writing process. And I met them through a Hay House Book Writers Club. It's a workshop, a writer's workshop that I've done 2 years in a row, actually. And a woman who co-host that, I guess, that the Hay House Writers Boot Camp. Now, Hay House is the world's largest publisher of spiritual books. So they've long been my dream publisher. So for many, many years. And anyway, Kelly Notaris works with them kind of adjacent to them, but she has her own literary agency, but she's edited many books for them before she founded her own business. And what she did was she realized this need to help people, get the ideas out of their head and onto the paper. And so instead of having to have it already done to take to an agent, the idea is that they'll walk you through it. And the reason why I went ahead and hired them is because, quite frankly, of their relationship with Hay House. So Kelly, who's not an employee of Hay House, but yet she co-hosts this with Tracy Reed. I don't know, it's Reed Tracy. I can't remember. He's the CEO. It's Reed Tracy, and he's the CEO of Hay House. And it's just they have great energy, and I believe in what they do and how they do it. And she's offered a bunch of free stuff to get us excited, and then the opportunity. Do you want to pay them to coach you through the process. And I've been talking about writing for 20 years. You know, I wrote 4 screenplays when I was out in Hollywood, my mid 20s, mid to latter 20s. But I've never written the books that I've threatened to write. But now I am.
Yep. Well, congratulations. You got the expert involved, and it will be an exciting one. There's so much that I want to ask you about the retreat, but let's start with the ASAX. How was your talk? How was your presentation?
Wow. Well, I first want to talk about what else happened there. So from Paul's, I don't know if everybody on this call was able to log in and hear it, but his primary focus was on, going from just being the inch deep, mile wide, which is the story of my life. I'm fascinated, interested in everything. It's my best trait and my worst trait. It's great to be interested in everything, but it kind of works against you when you want to become an expert in something. Because I'm like shiny object, squirrel. It's like, oh, quantum physics. Oh, ancient wisdom. Oh, it's like I want to go down all these rabbit holes. But anyway, I just really felt like he was speaking to me because he was talking about getting outside of your comfort zone. And I'm kind of going to glance down at some of my notes too. But the shallow approach represented in Tal's teachings, the hedonic pleasure. It's us going for the pleasure approach. What's easiest for us? And we take the shallow route and we just touch on it and just enough to get by. And then, but we don't read the great works and read them again and again. That's the kind of approach that deepens your experience of life and your whole being. So the deep approach he was labeling with is it Aristotle? Aristotle's the eudaimonic. It's eudaimonic in Greek. And it's about flourishing and sense of meaning. And then he got into, as you just mentioned, Ben, Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences. And then he elaborated on them. But that's the thing now. So since we've talked last, Ben, there I was in Gainesville at Tom Petty Park. I don't know how many classic rockers are there on this call, but Tom Petty was a great classic rock musician from America. And anyway, he was from Gainesville and he had a park there, and I was walking my son's dog. And in one of these just serendipitous moments, I meet this woman with her 2 dogs that are playing with my son's dog. We start a conversation, and turns out she's friends with Jesse, my son's partners. And they had all together been part of creating this charter public school, a Waldorf school. Are you familiar with Waldorf? It's an alternative to public education. Usually, historically, they're private schools. But now, because there's charter school systems in America where you can, when you don't believe in what's going on in the public education system, you can create your own charter schools. And there's a lot of people that are, it's controversial. There's a lot of people for it and a lot of people against it, because the people that are against it think you're siphoning out funds that should be, supporting our public education schools. But this is public education, and it is supporting because it's the same amount of money going, but to a different cause. And instead of focusing on the standardized testing, they have different styles of teaching, which I have to learn now because I was offered, because I started talking about my journey, the fact that I was in happiness studies and positive psychology and stuff. This woman's just looking at me. She's like, "Would you sit on our board?" And I said, "Well, how can I join your board? I live nomadically." She goes, "That's okay. We'll do it by Zoom calls." I'm just very fascinated. We need exposure to people like you. So now I'm being nominated to this board for a public charter school in Gainesville, outside of Gainesville, Florida, and I'm thrilled and fascinated. But that's has nothing to do with HSAX, other than the fact that because of HSA, I would and my association with it, I was put into this situation that I'm infatuated with. because I've long been against standardized testing and just how we teach rote memorization as opposed to learning, living, and breathing an education system. So, the fact that Tal got into, I'll get back to Tal's talk, and he talked about that it takes courage to deepen your relationship with yourself, with others, and he talked about regulating emotions. Anyway, I'm going to flash forward, and I love the fact that I don't know if anybody on this call had been on. I think it was his last happy hour, which was effectively a week and a half ago. But when he talked about awareness, acceptance, and action, those 3 A's, and for me, that's a big part of how I kind of woke up from this slumber of just getting by and just surviving, instead of my new portmanteau is word maps is survival. It's like I didn't want to just survive anymore. I wanted to thrive. And that was part of my speech. But, as he's mentioning all this, I was saying, oh gosh, I'm going to be repeating in essence and helping people learn deeper by sharing my story. But, and he talked about the context of things. So he played this beautiful piece of music for us. And none of us had heard it. No, not one person. It was a classical piece of music written by a woman in the 20th century. Well, she was I'm pretty sure she was the first Black woman, certainly in America, to write a symphony. And anyway, she wrote, and I don't know if symphony is the right term, but her name is Florence Price. Well, then he goes on to, so he's giving us this context, like how do you perceive things, and it's like it's one thing to just hear the music, and you kind of hear it, and that's this shallow versus going deeper and understanding who wrote it, why they wrote it. And so she was this woman who, of course, a Black woman, graduated from college in the early 20th century, so she suffered from a lot of just whether you're just talking about sheer racism, not to mention a patriarchal system that wasn't accepting her, to being in an abusive marriage and relationship that she finally ended, and she went away from music for a while. But she came back to us. So now once we heard this song, and you can't make this stuff up, but Tal has a way of just setting you up for success, right? And then he plays the piece again. And I'm sure I was not the only person who just closed my eyes, listened to the music, and tears just started running down my eyes because I thought of the life that this woman had led. So that was great. So the theme of the HSA retreat in Mexico City was nurturing hope, and so everything was about that. I'm going to say that our dear friend Venki Raman, I don't know how many people on this call know Venki, but he's out of Toronto, and he's a former super successful investment banker type who has gone on to create a consulting company to energize teams, and he used the word energy literally, but he gave a really great. If you ever have a chance to hear Venki speak, and he talks about the difference between catabolic and anabolic energy, and catabolic is negative, and he gave some just amazing examples of how you can affect a room by whether you're breathing, which type of energies you bring. And vice versa, other people bring into it. Okay, I'll go to the HSAX talks, and let me tell you, I'm just so humbled that I was included, because the people that spoke to their different subject matter and areas of expertise and what they're taking for their roles in the happiness revolution I was just blown away. A lot of great people. Well, lo and behold, I got to go off first. So I was the first one to go. And and I'll tell you, they told us bring 10 slides. Of course, I expanded mine to 60. Now, but of that, 40 were just going to be pictures that I was going to say, this is, Utilable in Honduras where I did it diving. This is this is Chicobal, the volcanic Mayan ritual site. That is a volcanic lake that my friend and I hiked up to. And it was at the tail end of them doing actual live ceremonies that day. So we got to see some of this, and we're walking around this small lake at the top of a volcanic crater lake. And it's an interesting mix of cultures and beliefs and mythology because there's a Christian cross, and then there's stones and their offerings, and there was like rooster feathers from a rooster they had sacrificed earlier as part of their ceremony, and these are just fascinating things that I experienced on the road. Well, so I shared my title of my book now, which is I've had these more scientific, academic, self-help type titles, but I settled on the one that I feel speaks to Taoist teachings, speaks to my own journey. And so my new title is From the Abyss. So the abyss, looking down that dark cavern and thinking that life was rapidly coming to an end, to bliss, my spiritual awakening, and getting to this beautiful enlightened spot where it's like, oh wow, everything's going to be okay. Everything's as it is. Wow, meditate, yoga, yay, have the rays of light coming down through me, and that's great. But then there's and this. So it's from the abyss to bliss to this, and that has resounded well with my literary agency. Tao liked it. Many people liked it. And the point is, how Tao says reality, reality, reality. And that's it. It's like you can't float around in this pink cloud and just ignore the rest of humanity. We have to get grounded and take our role and be productive members of society. And that's my to this. And the most beautiful thing is, it isn't that I stumbled over some words. It isn't that I almost cried when I showed pictures of our mountaintop outside of Oregon that we had to sell. But all that touched the audience. So just showing up for anybody who has a fear of speaking, and I haven't had it, but I didn't have it that day. They had a timer in front of you saying it's 7:55, 7:30, 6:45, and it's going too fast. And I'm 3 pages into a 60 slide and I'm halfway through my, anyway, it was beautiful because, your goal in telling a story, sharing a story, is to have people laugh and have people cry and take them on a journey. And I succeeded in that, even if it wasn't the smoothest thing in the world. And I feel good about that. I was disappointed they didn't have the taped on mic because you had a microphone, and I'm sure the sound is going to be weird because I was doing this and that. If I thought my voice was cracking, I'd pull it away, but forget to bring it back. Anyway, we'll see. The end result was beautiful because this generous HSA crowd gave me a standing ovation. I got hugged probably 30 times in 10 feet. It was just, it's just, again, this feeling of being seen as an authentic, bringing your authentic self. It's priceless. And I'm going to take a breath here and let you ask me a question, but basically, and then throughout the day, so people were still telling me how much it meant to them and thank you. And I had 2 women come up and tell me that they were going through exactly what I had gone through. And one of them gifted me this. And it's a beautiful little, you see, it's like a book. And she's Iranian, but she had emigrated to the States, and she's also in education, and she's just this amazing energy. And she cried as she handed this to me. And I didn't even know what it was. I thought it was something like Persian or something. I didn't even have my glasses on. But actually, what it is the Lord's Prayer. And so it's a Christian piece in essence, but the Lord's Prayer can apply to anyone. And it was just a beautiful gift. And she asked me to include her in my morning meditations and rituals. So I sent her a big long list today, and I shared with her the mantra that I will say for her, and while she goes through this. And likewise, I told her a mantra for herself, and I just changed the pronouns basically. But that was the kind of powerful impact that this has. Just like when Pablo got up there and spoke to suffering, and so on. It was just, it's hard to explain the HSA retreats, because for every reason we all joined HSA to be part of this. And I don't know that we did all join to become part of the happiness revolution, but we certainly got indoctrinated into it, and we love it. But this is like, it's like taking happiness crack and just getting all just crazy whacked out. It's really fun. And anyway, I'll let you ask me some questions, Ben. I hope I
Yes.
explained a little bit well.
Well, thanks for sharing with us. That's absolutely incredible that you had the experience to give a speech and then get great feedback and definitely move some friends of ours. And for those who are joining later in this call, today we have Casey John. He has been a special guest in the Saturday discussion for many months, and he just came back from ASA retreat. And most of the friends that we have in here are the certificate and the MA students. Some are interested and are going to join us in the very near future. So welcome. And just a quick introduction on what an ASA retreat is. So ASA, which is Happiness Study Academy, we have students from all over the world, founded in 2018. And each year we host a retreat from different places in the world where people come together, celebrate the culture, the journey ahead. And we got together and we learned together. And this year it's happened to be hosted in Mexico City, in Mexico. And Casey had the privilege to book his trip there, experience the entire retreat. So Casey, I guess the next question that I have for you, and I'm sure many of the friends that we have here would share a similar question, is that like, can you tell us the process of you like booking the retreat and then buying the airplane ticket, and then the process of going there to I guess a country. You're probably familiar with Mexico, but for many of us, it might be a little bit scary to go to a country that you know nothing about, and then get from the airport to the retreat, meeting the people, get everything set up, and then the experience of meeting the friends and family that we only see on Zoom, but we finally see them for the first time offline. Can you share with us all of that experience?
Absolutely. The first thing I think of is, so imagine me, if you listen to just American news in general, it's like you don't want to go to Central America and you don't want to go to South America. They're too scary. And there's the drug cartels and this and that. And yes, they exist. It's for sure. But it's not like it used to be. It's not as bad. So in general, I only was nervous. I was nervous one time. And when in my travels for the whole first year, I was only nervous one time, and that was getting on a ferry in Nicaragua to go to this very safe volcanic island. But this little town, geez, I can't think of the name of it right now, but there's just that energy of desperation, of not having enough. And whereas you don't feel that in most of the rest of Latin America, even the people that don't have any, that's why Latin America countries rank high, because they have such strong family bonds. and all that. Well, so I mean, the first thing I'd say is I grew up thinking that Mexico was a scary place. Um, I can tell you that between spending 3 months in Oaxaca and then going, well, I went to Florida, but then I came back to Mexico City. But Mexico City, which I went on my honeymoon 35 years ago, and I was nervous as all get out there. And I'll tell you, and granted, I stayed in a decent, not a super pricey neighborhood, but a nice kind of trendy area. And I'll tell you what, I had a great. I got an Airbnb. I came in like 4 days early, and I can't afford to do this travel and spend $300 a night in hotels everywhere I go. It's just not. It's not my wheelhouse anyway. I'd rather live in a neighborhood or live in my own apartment. And this guy, I had a rooftop for what it cost them for 2 nights at a hotel. I had for a week plus 8 days. And I was in a neighborhood where I could walk out. They had a great little breakfast place on this side. On the other side, nice dessert place and coffee all over and street food and produce across the street. I love this type of culture. I feel safer in a lot of cities outside of America than I do, but I'm not out after midnight either. I mean, out after midnight anywhere in the world is not. No, you shouldn't. No, you shouldn't. My mother told me when I was young, when I was a teenager, just starting to go out. Nothing good happens after midnight. So I learned that lesson a long time ago. I defied her, but anyway, now getting back to HSA retreats, the organization that like Dana and the team in Colombia did for Cartagena and Sandy and others did for Mexico City is just so impressive. I mean, they have every detail. They also have a local team that helps them. Like they hired a local team and they gave us, when you arrive and check in, and they give you all sorts of details in advance. But when you arrive and check in, they give you the welcome to Mexico, like here's some great places to go. And Mexico City has something I think Tall said in one of his speeches. He said, how do you say it? I think it has the second largest number of museums for any major city in the world. Yeah, I think that's what the thing was. And because I did my first world's as I self-proclaimed, I'm the first world's nomadic happiness center. And Tal loves that. He does. He asked me to basically explain more, and which means he wants me to pitch him an idea to that will allow me to maybe reach a broader audience inside of HSA. But the idea, and so I started it in motion because I went to spend. I don't know if anybody here has heard of Alex Garcia. He's from Mexico. He's an HSA certificate holder, and he's a psychologist, and he created a group called Dr. Paezo. And what they are is clown doctors that go into pediatric hospitals. And I threw out a line to Alex. I had met him in Cartagena, and I was fascinated by what he did. And I said, Alex, any chance I can go with any of your Dr. Paezos, Dr. Clowns, Paezos Clowns? If I didn't say that, I don't know. Anyway, I'm road weary, guys. But anyway, oh my God, it's transcendent. We went and spent 3 hours, probably visited 10 to 12 young kids that are battling life-threatening diseases and to see their faces light up when these clown doctors come in, and they have their red noses and wear wild colored outfits, and the one gal had these super big clown shoes, and the kids' eyes, they just light up, and it's beautiful. But I'm getting off of the point. The point is the HSA retreats are, there's such a difference between the virtual community, the Facebooks, the Zoom calls, the webinars, and then actually getting to meet and greet and lots of hugging, nonstop hugging, just hugging. Can I give you another hug? Sure, let's go. Hug again. And that's what it's all about. And then we deepen our knowledge. And you know, if you want, if you're not like me, you stay at the hotel where it's at. You don't even have to leave that. You have a nice little private cocoon. But as a teaser for the next one, now listen to this. They announced the next HSA retreat, and it's not very far away. It's in April. Did you guys see it? The one in Finland?
Yeah, the one in Finland. I actually met the owner of that resort back in
Really?
May in New Jersey. Yeah, he's a Finnish professor, and I believe he is a
Uh,
billionaire. So I was sitting on the same table. Very interesting gentleman. He was telling me how
oh, and they showed the pictures of these like
yeah.
glass igloos
Hmm.
that you could see the northern lights while you're
Yeah.
laying in your bed. Oh my God, I'm going. By the way, it changed my life, and it really did, because this is the beauty of not trying to over plan and over just think and try to control everything like I used to, and I'm letting things go. So now I'm down here for 3 months, and I'm going to see my son's business, hopefully open this time. They didn't get open before I left, but to see them open and see his business thrive a little, continue to redevelop the relationship with my daughter, and then I didn't have any plans, and I started to say, well, I think I'm going to go, instead of to South America, I'm going to go to Southeast Asia, which I think I've told you, Ben, and India, and then, but I had a gap because I basically, looked at all the stuff about typhoon seasons and all that, and so I said, okay, well, I'm not going before September, but now I have the opportunity. I've been asked to propose a talk for a happiness conference in India, and that's in third week of September. So then I have this gap. So I don't know where I'm going to do that, but that's not the question. So I'll let it go. I'm just excited that I immediately said, I've been dreaming of having a Scandinavian summer. I want to go to Eastern Europe. A lot of these newer, well, not newer, but new candidates to the EU that aren't EU yet. So if I can dip into the EU for a little while, 90 days, and yeah, you can only be there 90 as an American passport holder, 90 days in 180 actually in the EU, and Finland is in the EU, but we're only there for 3 days. But I don't know. Anyway, making it up as I go along. I don't. Am I supposed to talk this whole?
No,
Sorry,
it's
Ben.
fine. But like Finland is covered by snow, like from what I can
Yeah.
see. So there's no street food there for you. There's no going to your little neighborhood and get your coffee and breakfast.
Well, I wasn't the most outdoors person. My son's more of an he got trained to be a backcountry guide, an outcountry guide, by a military survival guy. And anyway, but the point is, it's like I grew up in northern Idaho on the west side of the Rockies, up near the Canadian border. So I'm not adverse to. I'll tell you, if it came to it, I would rather choose a winter over super humid hot weather. I'm not as good there as I am in the mountains and the water and the so anyway.
Yeah, like speaking of the retreat, I used to think that it is a little bit expensive to go on a 3-day retreat like that. But now that I really think
Yeah.
about it, like we can definitely save, let's say 5 to 10,000 a year just to immerse ourselves in that energy and that learning. And I'm
Well,
sure like that
okay.
experience can, yes.
Very important point, Ben. Yeah, because I was thinking the same way. And I was like, but you know what? Once we're in HSA, we have membership for life, access for life. And in a lot of companies, that means nothing because they're not going to be here 36 months from now. But with this, you just know it's got at least a 10 to 15, 20-year horizon. But these events where you can go in and be with a bunch of superstars and feel like a superstar and know that you're with people that are making a difference, and we give ideas and we get ideas and everybody exchanges, and if you're building a brand, it's like, what I know about this is when I launch my brand, which will hopefully be within the next 6 months. But when I launch my brand, see, everything that's happening for me now is happening without a brand at all. I just have a concept. And I just know that this is such a powerful, empathic, sincere group of people that want to help. My goal isn't to get rich and famous. My goal is to serve people, and I have shared that sentiment, and whether money comes with it or not is irrelevant to me. I know I'll have enough money to survive, but I'm not planning on trying to get rich doing this at all. I just want to have a rich life. I've said that before to you too.
One of my mentor used to tell all of us students that we're not working for money. We are working toward making a lot of money. He say it jokingly, but the meaning behind it is that the project that we are working on to make the world a happier place, we contribute a lot of value. So that will be a lot of money will come. Just like you say, we don't work for money. But this is a big project. It has to get a lot of funding sources to make all of this happen. So I wouldn't be surprised if you receive more opportunity on your journey. And before you go further, I just want to emphasize the important point of you saying that you are the first nomadic happier center, right? Extremely, extremely important because to me, this is a global project and organizations, school, and people from all over the world are building this. And we need someone who understand the teaching, have the willingness to travel, to share the knowledge, the experience with different people in different area, like Vietnam, for example, right? From now until November next year, I'm sure there will be more opportunity for us to do something. I know there's a conference happening in northern Vietnam in Hanoi right now. They are doing a happiness conference on education, and one of the private student school out there, they are hosting the event. Funny thing is, they claim that they are applying the SPIRE model of happiness studies, and they didn't even reach out to tell. I don't know if they're even aware of ASA of ASA, but the all of the yeah, all of the management, all of the principal and school, they actually have like newspaper write about their program of how they apply the SPIRE model. They even host like happiness conference, and the school is pretty like a lot more well known than I thought. I didn't know about that until I did like further researches. But the school actually founded by a Vietnamese billionaire, and there's a lot of I guess sign that this journey is a lot bigger than than what all of us know of, because I feel like there are people who like cultivate and accumulate all this wealth and influences so that they can be here at this point right now to support, to take part in building this project. And it is so important for people like you who have the willingness to travel, to visit, and to connect everyone together, because for many people they just cannot travel for one reason for another. So keep doing what you do, build a team, because there will be more people that want to do what you do, but they don't know how to start, and you can help them.
Yeah, and that's a whole different brand of mine, which is that I think I've told you the adventurerich.com, which is kind of like in general designed as a late life lifestyle mentor, is how I'm positioning myself there for people that are just done with, in a sense. So from Hinduism, I think this is where this stems from, the concept of when you're no longer a householder. And that's where I was, and that's kind of that was one of the little whispers in my brain when I said, "This is okay. You know, your kids are adult; they're fine." My ex-wife has a house. Her mother just moved in with her. It's just I got to visit them both. You know, it's all you know, it freed me up from any feelings of guilt or like I should be doing this. Because one thing I said in my speech, and Becky pulls me aside afterwards, but I said, there is not one financial planner on earth that would say, what you're doing is smart. And Becky said, no, I disagree. He said, you're investing in your future. You just don't know what that future looks like yet. He goes, you're starting to shape it, but you're investing in your future and you're not wasting your money. And so that he said that to me at a very good time. I already feel that way, but it's good to hear it from somebody like him, who's a guy who made buku bundles of money in investment banking and that sort of thing. But
Yeah,
yeah.
and I do want to emphasize on the point that you just make, because in the happiness study, the second whole being principle is stated that everything is interconnected. And you know, a lot of people they have this idea of investing on like real estate or stock or finance, that they see that as an investment. But Venki is absolutely right. And you are absolutely doing the right thing by investing on yourself, investing on your experience. And not just that, what's matter is investing on building relationships. You know, I didn't know about this before. I know it's important, but like many other people just don't understand the importance of just getting out there, even if you're meeting them for only 30 minutes, an hour. And I learned a great deal of that during my trip in Vietnam. Make a little time for a person here, a person there, but it made a huge difference. And I'm sure you have many story like that, you know, people that you met that you didn't plan to, but somehow just one event lead to another. And you even shared that earlier in our conversation. So you are making the I guess the greatest investment in my opinion. And you
Well,
definitely have a mission.
to think about it, Ben, it's like, you know, what's it been? 2.5 months, maybe, have I known Ben Strong and Jasmine. And it's like I feel like my world has expanded. And through your group, I get to meet Felice. And I feel like as you knew when you told me, oh, you two are gonna go like this. And I just love that feeling. And here's something that it came up like 3 times throughout the retreat. And remind me too to mention the other speakers that they invited in, which were all world class. But it's like he reminded us, you know, it came up again and again and again about show me who your friends are, and I'll show you who you are. You know, it's like you know, when I was young in college and not focused at all because I was an entitled American schmuck. Sorry, I'm being honest. You know, I played baseball and I partied, and my friends were athletes and partiers. A couple of them were good academics, but I can remember looking back and saying, you know, I remember that guy and he wanted to be friends and whatever, you know, and it was like, boy, should have gone down a couple different alleys. But I don't spend a lot of time anymore regretting decisions because I have amazing friends all over from all walks of life. And I do feel very fortunate that way that I have. It's like if I'm going back to the States, I have to make decisions. Am I going to New England? Am I going to California? Am I going to the Pacific Northwest? I have a bunch of new friends in Colorado. I have a bunch of new friends in Eastern Canada and Western Canada. You know, it's like, and I feel lucky and fortunate that these are people that would enjoy spending time with me, and I would relish spending time with them. So, I know Felipe sent me in a note saying, "Hey, talk more about the retreat," because I was trying to get him to come in and do some co-creation with us. So let's talk about the 3 people that he brought in to speak. and I'm not doing one a very good service, but I'll talk to you about Tanya first. Now, Tanya was another person who went to Harvard, and I believe I don't know whether she just did certification with Tao or not. And but she's done it, and now she's speaking with him because she's so impressive. But she was a woman who she went to Harvard, became a producer in New York on some big talk show host. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. Charlie Rose, she said. Oh, so she's been around. So Charlie Rose, PBS talk show guy, very well known, and deep thinker, et cetera, et cetera. Great interviews, great host. So she was his producer, and she made very good money, had the life going on in New York City, and felt empty. And so she went through the same process I went. And now she's a yogi and talking about people to reinvent themselves, just like I am. And she and I ended up speaking after the talk, and it's like, we're pen pals now. We were sending back messages back and forth and about our journey, because our journeys are very, very, very similar. And so we have a lot to share with each other. And she hadn't heard of Pachamama, and I introduced her to Pachamama. And so that's kind of an interesting thing, that I'm developing a new friendship with this person that I didn't know 48 hours ago. And so that's super cool. And then the other guy brought in, his name is Simon Cohen, and he wrote a book called Fulfilled. It's in Spanish and English, and he tells this amazing story about how he was born weak. He had this type of disease. He just fell in love with the water and almost made the Mexican Olympic swimming team. But because he didn't, it switched his life into such a way that it grew. And his father had this shipping business. And at 22, he fell in love with this woman and decides he has to get this job now. So he goes to work for his father and ends up talking to some famous German shipping company and ends up forming a partnership with them. The guy wanted somebody 30 in Mexico or older that could speak English. And he said, I'm only 22, but I grew up in a shipping family, and talked his way into this job that changed his life. And now this guy is on Shark Tank Mexico's version. So he's a billionaire. And but it's an amazing story about how having this life-threatening disease, it's a type of a heart valve. There's this, I can't remember what they call it, but it's something that apparently when babies scream and cry the first time, it separates some sort of electrical pulse thing that serves the heart while the child is in the womb. And so pardon me for being ignorant, not knowing more about the medical side of this. But the bottom line is, he reiterated what a lot of people are saying. Are you going to wait until you have a life-threatening situation before you decide to find your calling and pursue your passions and live with love and light, instead of, living for the almighty dollar? And so he was a great, great speaker. And that was a wonderful thing.
Wow.
So,
did he mention if he what were his calling?
well, so he's been named several times, his company, like the best company to work for. They were also the most efficient logistically of shipping companies. But the model that he is, it's like the servant leadership model, where you flip the pyramid, and instead of everybody from the bottom up serving the leaders, the almighty leaders, let's polish his shoes while he walks in the door, let's give him coffee, let's praise him, he walks in and says, what can I do for you? And that's how he empowers his employees. And one of the famous type of quotes that's going around these days in organizational behavior is something to the effect of, train your staff so they have the ability to leave, but treat them well enough so they don't want to leave. Something to that effect. And it's magic. And it's like, I knew when I was building teams, I only had 2 corporate jobs. in my life, for a total of 9 years of my life, 7 years with one company. And I ran the North American division. I wore several hats. I built the, I built the, I'm going to jump back and say the other thing about the organization. Well, this training's too expensive. You know, what if we spend all this money and they leave? And they're saying, what if you don't train them with these skills and they stay? That's how alternative. When you think about it, you got these people that are disengaged and don't want to stay, and you don't get the advantages of what our teachings can teach an organization, how to work and get a return of $5 on every dollar they invest in the training, type of thing. Yeah, where was I going, Ben? I jumped off on that.
Oh, I was asking if he share with the audience his what his mission is, what his passion in life
it's really about living with love in the moment. It was very much about living mindfully, because he said he had 3 daughters, has 3 daughters, and for the first 10 years of their lives, you know, at least his oldest one, he's like, how could they have even known me? You know, he was working probably 80 hours or more a week. And how he was describing the fact that at one point in time, he basically was in China and serving the market during those hours. And then he would turn around, he'd like get a 2-hour nap and turn around and serve the American market. And then he had this thing came where he had a heart attack at the age of 32. So remember, he got married at 22. Now he's 32. His daughters don't know who he is, and he's got a successful company, but he might be dead tomorrow. He was lucky he survived that. Is the whole idea, and it's like, why do that? I mean, for me to hear from my daughter on this trip recently, my daughter and I had not seen each other for 2 years, and just mostly by circumstance, but partially by her building her own safe boundaries, because she had this feeling that I abandoned her, and I had no idea she felt that way. But she felt like I abandoned her because I worked too much. And it was hard to hear, but it was good to hear and necessary to hear. And I can happily tell you that on my way to the first full day of HSA retreat, my daughter reached out to me, and we had lunch and dinner, but that was about it. And the whole time I was in Gainesville, she was there, I was there. I was helping my son, texting her saying, I'm available, let me know, let's go on a hike out in the nature, whatever. And, you know, we had lunch and a dinner, but we had that. And then she texted me and she said, Dad, do you think I could come down to Costa Rica, you know, around Christmas, end of the year, and maybe take a workshop and be there with you? So, you know, amazing things are happening because I slowed down enough to listen to, and I didn't explain this earlier, but in my talk, you know, part of it was, you know, do you have the courage to cultivate your calling? And then I talked about my platform in coaching, which is on 3 R's, which is, I may have shared this before with you guys, I don't know, but recovery, reinvention. So the recovery is that having the awareness that things are wrong and I have to right this ship, to accepting your own role in it. What did I do to cause this situation? And then taking the action. Or as Tal says, so this is the reflection model that Tal talks about, the deep introspective reflection, and then cultivating a plan of action. And that's the reinvention part, or in the people that I'll work with are basically, you find your strengths, values, and passions, and you figure out a path to go forward. And then the final thing is, once you're on this path, you start redemption. That's the 3rd R, and that's your legacy. You're rewriting your legacy of life, because I don't like the legacy that I would have left at 50, even though I thought what I thought, you know. And Hinduism, the Maya, in Sanskrit, the false sense of self. You know, in my mind, I was this great dad, this great husband, this loyal, devoted father, and the people I loved the most did not feel that the way I thought I was giving it. And I had to accept that. But I can tell you now that my ex-wife knows that better. I can tell you now that because of how my son was just being a 22-year-old kid going through master's and PhD programs. He was busy. But my daughter, they didn't see me before, and I wasn't there before. But now that I'm arriving and stepping into my authentic self, they're seeing me and they're receiving me. So it's a beautiful thing to cultivate the courage to pursue your calling. Find it, define it, and refine it.
And let me ask you again, what's the
But
three R's again? Like recovering,
recovery, and
reinvent,
when I say that,
and
no, so I battled alcohol and processed sugar addiction, which caused me to blow up to, 60 pounds more than I weigh now, or
sure.
27 kilos for others. I've lost in 2 years, and by applying Tal's teachings, the Nest formula, etc. At first I was thinking recovery from addiction, but there's a broader swath to stay within my niche of helping 45 and older men who wake up and say, "What have I done with my life?" And wake up and say, "Is it too late to do something more meaningful?" And that speaks to my soul. And so the point of that is, sorry, I was minorly disrupted. What that all means to me is basically I'm helping people get unstuck. So it's recovery from societal conditioning, because the truth is any addiction is it's not, we weren't born into these addictions. We cultivated them because they were our bad choices as coping mechanisms. So my new coping mechanisms, my islands of sanity, as Tal likes to teach us, it's like the islands of sanity are, oh my God, I'm having a stressful moment, do some box breathing, do a quick mini meditation, get up and do a little bit of calisthenics, turn on some of your favorite music, dare I say, watch a couple YouTube humor shorts, which that's deep versus shallow. That's a shallow, but it's a quick island of sanity that snaps you out of whatever funk you were going into that would, in the past, might derail us for a day at a time. But we can overcome that. So that's the recovery from societal conditioning that tells us we're not enough, we need more, and we constantly think it's the next job, it's the new car, it's the bigger house. And all that stuff it's nice. I'm not saying don't go for it, don't do it. Just don't let it rule your life. If you put it in proper perspective, it's a beautiful thing. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing in any religion that says, you shouldn't, to my knowledge, that you shouldn't acquire any wealth. There are warnings that money is the root of all evil, but it can be. It's your perspective on it and with it, your relationship with it. But the societal conditioning is that we're not enough. We need more. And the truth is, no, you don't. We have everything we need. If you put it in this, in the proper perspective, and Tal has taught us this. I keep struggling between Tal and Tal, but it's Tal, and I've called him Tal, but it's Tal. And
who did you confirm that with? Because I call him Tal too.
Yeah, because he was talking about how somebody pronounces his name after they knew him for 50 years, and they still say tall like height, tall, and I go, ooh, that's what I've been saying. So I think it's Tal. But I don't know. And he said that let's forget the enunciation of our dear leader, who I got to thank in my speech, by the way, because I said I literally would not be standing here or anywhere without this man, Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar. And that is the God's honest truth. Anyway, so recovery, which is societal condition, getting over that societal conditioning and getting out of it's part of the ego death, and getting over your ego of self and saying and zooming out and falling into, in a great way, accepting, embracing the human need that we all need to belong to something larger than ourselves. And that's what it's all about. So that's the recovery. Reinvention is finding what works within your strengths, values, and passions that is a little bit of a stretch goal, but reachable. and it aligns you with your, you've heard me say this before. My holy trinity is my higher self and source, and then I have the co-creation with that, and I have the co-creation on the horizontal plane of the people that I strike up relationships with. And then finally, it's the redemption when you can see that what you're doing is changing your legacy. It's a beautiful experience. I'm witnessing it on almost on a daily basis. I feel it. And it's all because I let go of trying to control things I couldn't control, because I, stepped away from material accumulation for experiential accumulation. You've heard me say that before. Okay, I'll take a breath.
The three R that you mentioned, it is actually very,
Yeah.
very powerful. There are different ways to describe it, but
Yes.
my realization on that is when Tao talk about the spiral, like how you can go spiral up or spiral down. And what I realize in life is that, there are different forces in this, both physical and the intangible world, that have great influence in our life. And there are times that people are spiraling down so hard and they don't even realize that. And then they struggle. So it's kind of like quicksand, right? The more you struggle, the deeper you get into. So your recovery is like a person realize that they in that quicksand, right? They are spiraling down. You got to recover before you can do anything else. Extremely important. And
Yeah.
I just had this conversation with Jasmine recently too, because I can see it from the people all around me, not all around me, but I see some people, they are already in a bad situation and they're trying so hard to get out of it. But what they could have done is just recover, right? Or just don't do anything because all of the decisions they make get them into the trouble. So if they continue to make the same decision, they're gonna get deeper into it. So recover, spend some time with yourself, family, and loved one. Once you recover, you can reinvent, like you said, which is finding a way to do things differently. Only when you already get out of that quicksand, right? Get out of that spiral down, then reinvent to move up, and then that's just when you redeem yourself. And I learned this in happiness study as well. Tao mentioned about a quote on Thích Nhất Hạnh. It said that in any moment in life you can choose to get closer to the truth or moving further away from it, something along that line. But it's definitely the concept that you just mentioned just now, and I just want to tell you that it is absolutely right. And if you can put it together into like writing or in a book, one of the most powerful technique, one of the most powerful law and principle, and it can apply anywhere. And that 3R it can be tied to your name, and it is so powerful. And I just want to compliment you for going toward that direction.
Thank you, Ben. I just feel fortunate. One of my great teachers was Wayne Dyer, who was a psychologist and a self-help, self-reliance. He taught self-reliance. And just like Tal is a huge fan of Emerson and Thoreau, the transcendentalists, he championed those guys, and he championed Neville Goddard, who I've mentioned on here before. But one of the things that Wayne said, and I noticed a change in Wayne for the way positive in his spiral upward, and he was a pretty arrogant guy early. He was brilliant. He was brilliant at synthesizing, like Tao is, synthesizing the concepts of the great thought leaders throughout time, and even the ones on the cutting edge now, and pulling it all together. So I think I may have mentioned it before here, but the Ambition to Meaning series, it was a CD series. He wrote a book. It was okay. That was part of this, and they called that The Shift. And he did this cheesy Hollywood movie. It had a couple stars in it, but I just didn't think they pulled it off. But his CD series, which is basically excerpts from a 3-day seminar in Hawaii on this very subject. And he's the one who introduced me to basically Lao Tzu and the Tao Te Ching and other Rumi, certainly, and other things that then were echoed by Tao. But the reason when I got introduced to Wayne in 2012, the reason why I was open to Tao's teachings in 2014 was because I had been fed this pacifier with Wayne Dyer. I'd already had like this fire hose of information shot into me because I listened to that series probably 12 to 14 times. Well, anyway, at some point in time, Wayne evolved to realizing he wasn't writing these books. They were being channeled through him. And he said, I can't tell you, he goes, on the woo scale of mumbo jumbo, how many times I'd reach back, grab a book, and open it up to the exact page to get the thought and concept I wanted to get down, out of his hundreds of books in his library. And that was very powerful teaching to me. And when I finally, like maybe around 2019, 2020, it was probably more closer to 2022 when I realized I was putting all this pressure on myself to become the expert in something. But as Tao teaches us, to command nature, Sir Francis Bacon, to command nature, we need to obey nature. And my nature is that I'm interested in everything. And I'm not going to be a mile deep and an inch wide ever, but I can be deeper than an inch deep and a mile wide. I'm going for more like 2 inches deep and a half mile wide or something like that, and trying to change that formula. But when you talk about the upward spiral, oh my goodness, I feel it now. I mean, here's a great example. So, and a neat thing about my first year of living nomadically is it's bookended. My very first stop was Cartagena for an HSA retreat. My year came up at the Mexico City HSA retreat. And I had 3 people there independently of each other come up to me and say, man, the difference of you in a year. They're like, you were really frenetic and hyper and everything when we saw you last year. And you're so zen now, or whatever they would say to me. They're just like, you have this calmness about you. And I don't know if that resonates with everybody on this call, because I get excited to share. And it is all about sharing and growing this. But I feel that upward spiral. I feel it, when I walked into a surf shop in Nosara, Costa Rica last summer, and instead of looking at the fat boy size shorts, I'm down on the skinny end. And I was like, wow, I've never had that experience since I was 30. And it was pretty cool. But to feel that and it is an amazing experience. So anyway, I'll take a breath.
Everything is interconnected. Yeah, I see Phyllis too. And
and may I share this, that the 5 principles, not 10, 5 principles that I included in my talk, which I've shared here before, is number 1, everything is interconnected. Number 2, the 2 principles of spiritualism, being the present purpose, so mindful meaning, and then the curiosity and openness to new experience, and the 5th being the relationship with myself. And so if I may say this thing about the ultimate wow for me was that Tao came to me and said, thank you. I said, Tao, I'm so embarrassed. I'm sorry. I just didn't deliver it the way I wanted to. And he goes, Casey, yours was one of the most authentic speeches I've ever heard. He said, keep being you. And I melted just hearing that from my guru. And it was very powerful. And then he came up to me the next day and he said, this Nomadic Happiness Center, I want you to continue to develop that and share more with me. So he's just basically opened the door for me to present to him something that he will help co-promote through HSA. And then the third thing was, so back in 2018, before my ex and I had our final meltdown, I was starting to write a book called Happier Ex Drunk. And it was about recovering from my alcohol abuse. And Tal liked it. And I got the nerve up one day to ask him if he would be my book advisor? And he said, absolutely. And I sent him an outline, and he sent me back a really great piece of advice about including ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy. I'm not sure if everybody on this call saw that, and I still haven't seen it, but I heard part of it, but I want to go back and listen to that. But I've read the two leading books on that and that concept, and it is a form of meditation, live meditation, where you're analyzing your thoughts and redirecting them and laughing at them and naming them silly names and these things that derail addicts and make them pick up their coping mechanism, their negative life threatening coping mechanism. Anyway, so I just felt at that time that I could ask him, because he also told me he liked my title, From the Abyss to Bliss to This. And I said, Tal, would you be kind enough to take another shot at helping me develop this concept for my book? And he nodded his head and he said, yes, I'd be honored. So, I mean, Tal was so amazing. Anyway, that's enough of me. Please raise your hand. Come on in.
Yeah. Well, Phyllis have his video on, so I'm gonna invite him in a little bit. But you know what? When you mentioned ambition to meaning, I feel like I heard of that before. I couldn't remember where. And then during my trip to Vietnam, I actually got to spend a lot of time with Phyllis, like a 24-hour the second day that I was there, and then before I left, we got to spend time again. But it was strange, like he shared with me his learning, and then we even met one of his fellow junior teacher mentor, and just similar to what you shared with me, like everything I hear from you guys, I felt like I heard of it from somewhere already.
You remember when I said on? So I said, I think I credited Wayne Dyer, and I'll go back to somebody else's use of Spire. But so Wayne Dyer, I took that and I put ambiguous ambition to mindful meaning, and I've used that phrase, and I don't know if you heard me say that before. I think I shared it on one of these calls. But and then also Tal is not proprietary. He wants to spread this message, but he also is the advocate. Cite your sources. Cite your sources. So if somebody's using Spire, they should absolutely cite not only Tal, but Megan McDonough and Maria Serra, they were his partners in the Whole Being Institute, which is where I took my first positive psychology certification with Tal back in 2014, 2015. Mm-hmm. But you know, and that's it. He says just put. He's not in this. He's like more in tune with the new the younger mentality of the new tech world and stuff, of common sourcing. What do they call that? So somebody here probably knows what I mean, like you, Ben. But you know how there's open source is the term, and it's we'll build a better world when we share all the information and we don't try to keep it to ourselves for personal gain. That's, I think, the general concept behind it and the ethos.
Right. And again, everything is interconnected. So maybe just different way of express. But I feel like I hear the exact word ambition to meaning many years ago.
I'm sure somebody said it somewhere.
Yeah, but it's interesting.
So no, it's not. It's out there in AI world, so that's it could be out there.
I think Phyllis probably want to interact with you. So let me go ahead and invite him to join us. And thanks, Phyllis, for hosting me and my family in Ho Chi Minh City. It was delicious coffee and tea and some earth and great conversation. So good to see you here again. And Casey probably want to join us soon in Vietnam.
Yes.
Okay. Hi everyone. Hi Casey. Hi Ben. So I've been listening to the whole sharing from Casey, and really the thing that popped out that I want to share with you guys today is the power of authenticity. So I really want to compliment Casey on being yourself, being who you are, and living authentically. So I have a scientific experiment I want to share with you guys today. So before this experiment, there were experiments of the power of the mind, the heart. So which the mind, the heart generate both electro and magnetic energy that you emanate, you spread around the environment. So there was a curious scientist. I couldn't remember his name or where it was conducted, but he took up a group of volunteers and let them stay in a Faraday cage, a Faraday room, a Faraday cage. So for those of you who don't know about the Faraday experiment, basically that was a cage where Wi-Fi signals or cell phone signals or radio signal or any kind of frequency cannot permeate into that cage. So basically, anyone who is this Faraday cage will be free from all the let's say the energy pollution, the frequency pollution that we are experiencing every day now in our life. So those volunteers in that cage were simulate with different kinds of emotions. So love, hatred, or regret, and everything. And they measure the electro and magnetism energy that a person send out when they reside in that certain emotions. And to be like to me surprisingly, I thought that love and compassion would stand out from all of the other traits and qualities that would create a strong electromagnetism field standing out. But the intensity of that energy would be sent out from those people who just be who they are, or in other words, authenticity. So authenticity will create an electromagnetism energy that far beyond the normal energy that we are experiencing and sending out right now. So these experiments really prove the fact that spiritual work is through meditation, through yoga, through breath work. Basically to let go of all the illusion, all the layers of the onions that you put on yourself, all the social condition, all the definition, and all kinds of that. You remove all of those and being who you are and be in that meditative state, and you will send out a huge electromagnetism field throughout the earth. So I would love to compliment Casey Jones with or without knowing that you have already been doing that to the world. So you are expanding, you go interacting with different communities and also of that. You basically are living examples of authenticity. And I know we are flawless, we have flaws. We will time to time readjust, reattune, and living more aligned with truth. So through that experiment, I have more trust in being who I am. And that's why I want to compliment Casey, and I want to invite and encourage everyone to be who they are. So after that, I came across through ideas that I found like particularly enthusiastic about and passionate about. So the first is divine timing and divine plan. So for those of you, I don't know, I just want to share it out to you. So basically, our evolutions has been proven that we have intervention from outer space, so i.e. the Anunnaki and also that. So there are all the galactic races out there, you know, or you do not know, but basically we share this cosmos together. We share this solar system together. We share this Milky Way together, these galaxies together. And the law of interconnectedness also true in this sense. So planet Earth is orbiting around the sun in perfect harmony with all the planets, creating all the forces within, like in the space. So as above, so below. So if you break out your limitation from merely a human being, namely Casey, namely Ben in the USA, Felix in Vietnam, and also that we break that illusion and we embrace the fact that we are an interdimensional beings, that we share this universe with all the races, namely like the Greys, the Baladians, or the Arcturian. There are a lot of races, and they will come to greet us soon, like in the next couple of years. So basically, when I came to that realization and I removed the limitation that I imposed on myself that I am only a Vietnamese, and that was back like 10 years ago. And then when I got a chance to go abroad, then I identify myself as a global citizen. So I don't mind that I am Vietnamese or I am a Buddhist. I am an individual being, human being, sharing the earth together with everyone. But now, recently, I just came to a realization that I am an interdimensional being, sharing this cosmos with interdimensional beings, other interdimensional beings, either third, fourth, fifth to the 11, the scientists may say, or another realms in Buddhism that we may say. But we are a part of that. We are a part of it. We are a part of spark from the divine sources. We are light and love and also of that. So when you came to this realization and embrace that as a truth, then it feels easier to remove the layers and be authentic. The key word today I want to share is authenticity. And when you are in that state, you actually emanate to the world around you, to the collective consciousness of the planet Earth, and even the collective consciousness of the whole galaxy. Why? Because now NASA or science institution has proved that the explosions in space affect us as a human being on planet Earth, electro and magnetically speaking. So there are solar flares from the sun that are affecting our body, our mind, and our ascension and everything. So we are interconnected with even our solar system. So let's imagine if we are that kind of interdimensional beings, intergalactic beings, then what we do, what we say, what we share right now will send out a very strong pulse of energy towards that. And it means a lot of things. So there are this ascension going on Earth right now, and everyone is awakening. Everyone is like drawn to circumstances and things like that to be spiritual awakened, but to awaken to what truth? To awaken to the truth that we are interconnected. And we as a human being share this whole galaxy, this whole dimension with others. Like in this, I could not use the word to describe omniscience maybe, or this vastness of the universe. So by being yourself, by staying true to yourself, then things will happen at the right time. So Casey John was drawn to events and got invited to host that and build that centers and also of that. That's divine timing. And that's divine timing is in accordance to a divine plan. A divine plan that we only when you break out the illusion that you are this human being, namely this, namely that, doing this and doing that, you would be able to understand, you would be able to connect to that. And I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking from like what really I've been going through for the past 2 months. And I felt so blessed to understand these things going on the hill, on the planet level and on the cosmos level, which really intriguing and so interesting. And I want to share that. I want to complement that. Like by being who we are right now, we anchoring the source of the divine, the light, love onto the planet Earth, the things that Gaia, need the most in this ascension. And go at like peeling off the layers that we put on ourselves and be one with source again, the source of light and earth. So yeah, that's basically what I've been observing, listening, and I want to bring this forth in this conversation. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Phyllis. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you for this.
And I think Dr. Tapan Shahar mentioned this in the indirectly manner in his lecture back in Mexico City too, because I would interpreting live, what Tao said to Vietnamese. So I remember what he said, and my realization of what Phyllis shared earlier is absolutely true because everything is interconnected, and then there are many layer to it. And the more familiar term of the expert out there, they often use, the snowball effect or the butterfly effect, how the wing of the butterfly can cause tremendous change of event down the road. So we are kind of like that. Every single thought, every single action that we do, right? Once we are conscious of it, there's a huge effect of what we do to the universe itself. So by living mindfully, by living authentically, we we have a positive effect to not just ourselves, but everyone around us, the community, the earth itself, even the cosmos. And what I love so much about Tao talk is he 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 was talking about the balance between research and research, and he's talking about the shallow and the the deep. And he didn't say like how shallow or how deep. He was just saying that there are different intelligence, and we have to know our balance. So to me, that is like, let's say Phyllis, let's say his shallowness can be my deep, right? Because he probably spent like many years learning about spirituality compared to me. Just got into this in the past 2 years. So each person shallow and each person deep is very different. The important thing is that we find that balance so we can create this upward spiral so we can explore the depth even further in our own journey. And I'm just so glad and so appreciative of the opportunity to go to Vietnam and learn from Phyllis and his mentor. Because after those meetings, of course, one thing lead to another. I started to receive more and more information and have a better understanding of what so-called authenticity. And it is true. It's very powerful once we can build connection and we can tap to that authenticity. So, Casey, what's your thought? And we probably have to close the conversation soon. But I would
Yeah,
love to hear from
I
you and
remember,
Phyllis.
and it doesn't matter, whether you call it source, God, creator. But I love how Elise is doing what I do. Yeah, this direct connection to the energy and source, in which I've experienced in deep meditation and therapeutic, you know, ancient wisdom practices. I'll just call them. But when Paul recently said, you're in alignment when your thoughts, your words, and your actions are all in balance. And I try to, and I don't have a lot of exposure to people that have spent time as Buddhist monks and in that setting. And so I'm kind of fascinated in a way. But I go to church, so to speak, every morning, and I do my water blessing, and I do my rituals, and I have certain recitations that I do and that I include, and that's and starting with gratitude and intention every day, and ending every day with gratitude and intention helps keep me on that path during the day as I go through the day, and as I'm confronted with things. It's almost like it's just second nature now. It's my reaction is with the four agreements from Toltec wisdom, from Don Miguel Ruiz, as a for instance. Whether it's the Buddhist thought, Elise said it a few weeks ago, and I don't know all eight, but I can't recite all eight right now. But I always start. I just say right mind, right thoughts, right action, right words, right action, which goes hand in hand with what Tal is saying. So, meaning Tal basically borrowed 3,000-year-old wisdom. But anyway, Thank you all. And I hope I inspired others to get excited about HSA Retreat, to be proud of your association with HSA, because I really think we are with an amazing group of rising difference makers that are part of the awakening. And they're coming from all different circles in all different areas. And they're not all going to be part of HSA, but the people that are in HSA are great. And there's no reason why we can't spread the gospel of HSA, so to speak, spread the wisdom. I'd rather say than gospel is dogmatic, but spread the wisdom and share it with as many as we can. Thank you guys. Thanks, Ben, for inviting me.
Well, thank you for sharing your experience. And, I didn't have the opportunity to go this time, but from what you told me, each retreat is very special on its own, and it is an opportunity to come together and to share that beautiful energy. And financially speaking, I think it is a great investment because just like you said, this time around you met a billionaire in Mexico who is one of the hosts from Shark Tank Mexico. And the last retreat that I went to, I met a billionaire in Finland. So I feel like this is gonna be the trend, like people who actually made it, they want to give back and they want to share the goodness, and they will show up to this retreat. And I just have a strong feeling that the retreat in Vietnam gonna happen, and most likely we're gonna meet a few billionaires too.
Can I say, Ben, that I had Simon Cohen sign my book, and it was odd to me that not everybody had to sign the book, but like 10 of us, 12 of us, whoever had him sign the book. But two of the really powerful thoughts, I asked him to sign the book, and he said, what would you like me to say? And I said, I want you to put down your two thoughts: inner peace and integrity. And those were two of his most powerful messages. And my ex and I, when we were going through our breakup, she said, what are you looking for? What do you want? And I said, I want peace. And I knew that I needed inner peace first before I could help others, having that relationship with myself. And I've always been a person who tries to live with integrity. But anyway, thought I'd share that.
So I would like to say some final words too. So I bring forth the topic on authenticity, and also I mentioned about the all the solar flares and all the ascension wave that going on the planet. So basically, I learned that, I felt that, I have seen that, and according to my sources, those waves will be intensified in the next coming years toward the end of 2024, and 2025 will be a major year for transformation. So learning about this, I understand all the symptoms that our body going through. For example, the heat within, or all the sleepless night, or even like many days falling asleep, and also like more a stronger pillar of life within your meditation, or the veil between the spiritual dimension with the physical dimension is a growing thing. So there will be more encounters with angelic beings and archangels and also of that. So just be mindful about everything going on right now. And we got a lot of support and help from our brothers and sisters in the Galactic Light family. A Galactic Light family, that's for you, Casey. So your work is not alone. My work is not alone. We have people on this dimension supporting us. We have beings on like higher, or the highest dimension are supporting us. Arcturian is actually one of those. So you asked me in the chat. I personally, I don't interact with them, but I do energy exchanging with them in my meditation. So yeah, I felt their intention was good, to support humanity through this ascension time. So basically, the more we are enrolling into the next coming years, next coming solar flares, as noted by the NASA, those are actually electrical magnetic wave of energy to reactivate our DNA, to reactivate our memory loss due to a lot of catastrophe on Earth, and these and these waves will bring you closer to the truth. So yes, stay in peace, pray, be mindful, and trust in divine timing and divine plan. So there are divine timing and divine plan. Until this moment, I have to say so because that's the truth. We are very tiny beings in the whole vast universe. So there are a lot more out there that if we dare to look, if we dare to peel off our predefined, the social impositions on us, then we would be able to connect, realign with those truth. And you would be amazed how powerful you are in the next coming years. Things that have been very slow in the past will become very fast now. Your intention, your manifestation will happen very fast now. And actually, I am experiencing that. So I share that from my experience, not just merely theories or like message from somewhere. These are actually happening because I am more sensitive to energy and all layers of the spiritual realms. So I realize that and I see how beneficial that to my body to reactivate some of my past life memory too. So it's happening, whether you believe it or don't believe it, it's happening. And those who are aware of that will be rising on the way of those way. Those who do not realize that, who don't realize that, and stay asleep and will be within the waves and will be exposed to chaos, will be exposed to suffering, pains, and unnecessary suffering and pains. So I hope that from my truth, from my authenticity, from my compassion and love for you guys, I share that. And I hope this message share across this Zoom and this planet Earth energy grid and the whole cosmos, what's going on in the cosmos right now, and be one with that process. So things will be very different in the next coming years. So stay attuned, and be mindful. Thank you for being here, gathering here today.
Thanks, Phyllis, for the prophecy, and thanks, Casey, for sharing with us your wisdom, knowledge, and experience. And of course, we're gonna have many more discussion to come. And I just had the perfect song to go out with everyone, and it actually called Authenticity. So here's the song, and I wish you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next week.
I found my voice, I found my way.
Yeah.
No more hiding, this is my day. Authentic heart, I'll let it show. This life is mine, and now I know. Every step I take, I'm feeling free. No more chasing who they want me to be. I'm dancing to my own melody. I'm living with pure authenticity. I shed the weight of doubt and fear. Now I'm shining crystal clear. With every moment I rise higher. Fueled by truth, I'm on fire. I'm shining true just as I am. No more doubt, I know where I stand. I'm living bold, I'm living free. With every breath I'm truly me. I'm shining bright just like the sun. Embracing all that I've become. With authenticity as my guide, I'll walk this path, arms open wide. Smiling wide, the world is bright. My authentic soul, my guiding light. I found my strength, I found my peace. In being real, I found release. I've let go of who I'm supposed to be. Now I'm standing in my truth so free. No more pretending, no disguise. I'm showing the world my inner sky. I'm shining true just as I am. No more doubt, I know where I stand. I'm living bold, I'm living free. With every breath I'm truly me. I'm shining bright just like the sun. Embracing all that I've become. With authenticity as my guide, I'll walk this path, arms open wide. I'm shining true just as I am. No true, just as I am.